Hey everybody, Big Jonas here coming to you Sunday night. Just had our daily close, just had our weekly close. Let's look at the charts. Now, we're looking at a couple areas of resistance, whether it be this descending line that basically since early June has resisted, closed above it today. And then you could argue we have several either resistance areas back tested as support, another area of resistance broken through, using it as support. So are we climbing up this ladder of horizontal resistance that doesn't seem to be very strong resistance? Are we climbing up this ladder of diagonal resistance, right? Doesn't seem to be very strong resistance. When we look at our daily Bollinger Bands, we can see lower Bollinger Band pierced, middle Bollinger Band tested, upper Bollinger Band is just a hair over $63,000. Volume over the weekend was incredibly low. So we're doing this thing like kind of similar to what we did in the stock market, this low volume drift ups. EMA 12 and 26 still in the bear cross, but we able to close above our 12 and now using 26 as closing candle support. So that is notable. Daily chart, mind you. And one more thing I want to look at would be there we go. The all important MA200. Now this was substantial that we broke. Remember back here, we were under it. Resistance, broke above. This was our initial ETF fake tweet, right? And then kind of came back, and then the full advance began. So using MA200 as support there on the advance. Fast forward to past few days, and after the couple initial rejections of our 200, we have put a closing candle, our first closing candle since early July, back above it now. Now, in my last video, I talked about even though we could be able to get above our 200, we have formidable foes, MA50 and MA100, that are declining, that are decreasing now. And if Bitcoin's ever to get up here at 63K, this will act as strong resistance. So we have a confluence here. Upper Bollinger, 63K, MA50, 63K, MA100, 64K and change. But both of those are declining. So I'm going to do a quick scan here of our oscillators. Chalk and money flow, still pretty crappy, still in the negative, but putting in these higher lows, something notable there. We have our MACD, there's our bull cross here, starting to put in some bullish histograms. Still a long way to go to kind of crawl up the top there. Daily OBV, now this is very important because this is kind of out of all the indicators and oscillators I like to use, this is kind of the most important. And even though we've kind of created a slight higher high and a slight deviation back above 60K in our price action, we're actually seeing not the same momentous push here in our OBV. Here's our low, here's our high, here's our higher low. We're just kind of still below an area that I want to call a higher high. So we have a higher high in our near-term price action. We don't quite have a higher high yet in our OBV price action, which still makes me kind of skeptical about this overall move. And then our RSI here peaking our head above 50. We at least want to be above 50 on our daily chart. Daily stochastic, again, both indicators here are heading into the upper range, and looks like our initial one here is actually hit the 100% move here. And lastly, our squeeze momentum. Looks like we're just on the cusp, maybe tomorrow's candle, maybe today's, about putting in that green mountain versus the red valleys here. So daily chart, we definitely have a trend change. We definitely have found support and stopped the bleeding, and we've definitely found this trickle up on low volume and kind of low money flow. But the weekly chart was also closed, and there's a differential you want to look at here as well. Now, I'm going to go through some of those indicators, do it real fast here, just so we can see from a weekly chart perspective. Here are indicators here. Kaijin resistance now, back testing potential, still way above our cloud area of support. Talked about this in the last show, the tightness of our Bollinger Band, especially on our weekly. We're getting real tight here. And once we pierce our lower Bollinger Band here, lower Bollinger Band here, these are areas where we consistently on our weekly chart find support. Lower Bollinger Band pierce means support. Upper Bollinger Band pierce means resistance. First time we pierced our lower Bollinger Band this year. And we have the reaction that we basically expect and looking for the market. Middle Bollinger Band right around 65 and pretty much dead sideways. So look at our Bollinger Band. Upper Bollinger Band, dead sideways. Lower Bollinger Band, pretty much dead sideways. We just have a sideways market here. And because we've had sideways price action. And because we're so tight here, the next meaningful move in Bitcoin should really begin to expand and broaden out these Bollinger Bands. So whatever trend we end up doing next, either a push back up to 70 or continuation lower, we're definitely going to see the volatility expand these bands here. EMA 12 and 26, remember, in the daily chart, these have already bear crossed. In the weekly chart, they have not. And closed above EMA 26 on the weekly chart. EMA 12 resistance right at 62K. And the 12 was used all the way up, support, broke it, and now it could be used as resistance. So another confluence about 62, 63, 64, a lot of overhead resistance that used to actually act as meaningful and stronger support. Treacherous, if you will. MA50 on the daily still rising here, still just a hair under 50K. And that is definitely notable. And just a quick run here of our indicators and oscillators. Remember, the CMF has been bullish and has been strong on the weekly chart ever since October. And we did put in these 3 rises here, but we are now putting in these lower highs and lower lows on the weekly. Still have our negative histogram and our indicators running away down here. We do want to look to see if we can get our blue one to curve up here, but definitely not anything going on this week. And we talked about the OBV on the daily. Let's pull up here our weekly. And again, it's still very hard to ignore, what this pattern looks like. It looks very much like a head and shoulders here. And back testing our neckline here could potentially bring us up just a little bit higher before potential rejection. That's why I'm not super happy and super excited about what we see here. I did talk about the importance to get the RSI above 50 on the weekly. Remember, this is an area where we had bounced before, and looks like we're doing it one more time here. Stochastic, this is what we do want to see. We have a double bottom with, again, bullish cross here on the weekly. And if you go back in history here, it's been quite a while since we've had kind of that W bottom here. We had a little one back here in September of 19. This one right here looks actually the most alike what we're kind of doing here. W bottom, nice bullish run, gave it all the way back coming down here. So that is a good sign there, but still a long ways to go to kind of move up and move forward there. And lastly here, our squeeze momentum. Now, I talked about this last time. We're definitely coming down here in the red valleys, but we noticed that our last 2 red valleys here, this one here in November 22, this one here of October 23, which did mark the bottom, were very shallow, very shallow. So we're in week 2 of our red here, but who's to say if we can extend this here? Be curious to see where this next week goes, if we actually put in a lower low or continue to begin to kind of turn that there. And that would actually be a very bullish sign if in the weeks to come we get back into our green here. So just a quick rundown. Definitely was a nicer weekly candle. We did close inside bar of the previous bearish candle area of support there from just a clean fib retracement from our previous swing highs here. We have basically retraced above our 382, okay, which does kind of qualify still for that bear flag potential. I think honestly we can get up to the 50 or even the 618 still puts us at 65K. So there is running room to go higher and hit those meaningful fibs as resistance. I want to go one more chart here before I let you go, and that's going to be our where is it here? Our Bitcoin CME futures. I did put a tweet up talking about our gap, this is quite a gap here. We haven't had this kind of a gap on, let's just call it the weekly, if you will, for quite a while. I have no doubt this gap will get filled. We have other gaps. Actually, do we have any other? Yeah, we have other gaps on the weekly, obviously. I'm a big fan, though, of the 4 hour as the most meaningful one there. Every 4 hour gap above the current price action has gotten filled. So this is our new one here. And we will call it as such. There is our gap. And we want this to fill down here. So about a $3,000 gap here on the start of the week. Now, could this be a runaway gap? It is possible. We've had those in the previous few where we just have a weekly gap that just opens up quickly and does not close. This was kind of an example of one here. January through February, came back and closed it. And then reopen another one here. So we've had, this weekly gap or daily gap open since March of 23, over a year. But remember, way back here, it took a year, more than a year. It took 526 days to fill the January 2018 gap to the June of 2019 gap. So almost a year and a half and then some. So I believe these gaps will get filled, but there is also precedent that it can take well over a year for them to do so. And just real quickly here, you can look at the charts and you can look at the Bitcoin chart and you can look at the total crypto just to get an overall sense about what's happening here. Total crypto back over 2 trillion at 2.2, hitting up right of the 382 from the total swing high of March to where we are now. So a little bit weaker in terms of the fib compared to Bitcoin. And then total 3 is our altcoins here back just a hair over 600 billion. So, there's been a lot of talk and that potential for, are we starting some sort of a wave 5 expansion here? And it is possible. We do have a 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 never got below 1. And a 5th extension would basically bring Bitcoin and altcoins to quite a bull run, heading into the fall. But we have a long way to go before that ends up playing out. And be very curious to see what happens this week in terms of equities. Equities close basically at all-time highs. We have bullish futures price action happening now. So very curious to see if that plays out into tomorrow's price action in the stock market, and if that continues to translate that kind of bullishness to crypto and the Bitcoin market. So with that, Big Jonas, have a great week. Be safe out there. Update you guys as new data comes, and talk to you soon. Peace.